Pandemic unemployment assistance really heats up, but what will happen to FPUC? Will it get extended or will it get changed? Hey everybody, this is LALATE with a second stimulus check and stimulus package update for today. This one about FPUC, that's $600 from the federal government per week, provided under the first stimulus package, which is expiring or has expired depending on which state you live in. And the future of FPUC being reignited or reinstalled under a second stimulus package. Let me get right to the news, and it's really just a hot mess on a Friday afternoon. Second stimulus packages have been floating around for days and days and days. And ultimately, as you sat here, you saw in some states your $600 a week benefit from the federal government expiring. Yes. Last Friday, a week ago today, I told you that FPUC from the federal government would fundamentally, by application, expire this week. And across many of the states, it has now expired. What's going on? Under the CARES Act, FPUC was to be provided for up to a certain number of days in the month of July. But states don't pay benefits for unemployment to the very day, they pay them by week. Ultimately, FPUC is expiring. So if you are on PUA or UI and have that supplement from FPUC under the CARES Act, it's now expiring. So will it get reinstated? Well, this is the real rub that's happening today. The Democrats introduced a bill back in May that says we're going to extend FPUC into middle of next year. Now, how many months is middle of next year? Is that temporary? Is that long-term? I don't know what adjective you use for it. Mitch McConnell, when he saw that, says, no, I'm not going to agree to any extension of FPUC. It's dead on arrival. That's what he said in May. Yesterday, he said, I will agree to an extension of FPUC temporarily. Okay, Mitch, what does the word temporarily mean in your mind? A day? Or middle of next year? I mean, what is temporary? The whole bill is a temporary bill. So what does that mean? Of course, the news reporters were about as ignorant as could be. They didn't follow up and say, what does the word temporarily mean? But that was what he said then. Across town, Steve Mnuchin said, you know what, I would support extension of FPUC, but paid at 70% of what's currently at, which would land at about $300 to $400. That was one of the few things that news reporters have done good this week, broadcast news reporters, bad grammar, is that they asked Mnuchin, what number do you want FPUC extended at? And he said, I probably would agree to $300 to $400 per week. Okay. Ironically, earlier that day, Mitch McConnell said he'll do $100 a week. Well, we were going to see where that number landed on Monday. This last Monday, we didn't. Steve Mnuchin and Mitch McConnell said they were going to debut their second stimulus package that includes the future of FPUC last Monday. They did not. Thursday, yesterday I sat here and I recorded and I said, hey, remember I said it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon and Steve and Mitch said they're going to debut it later this afternoon. They didn't. And I also told you there was an Alabama Republican who said these people are not ready and they're not going to debut it till next Monday. Well, guess what? Minutes ago, the White House said, we're not ready. We're not going to debut it till Monday. There's a fundamental breakdown between Mitch McConnell, Steve Mnuchin, and the White House that they can't agree upon much of anything. And one of the things they can't agree upon is the extension of unemployment benefits. The key issue and what's going on, I'm going to explain to you their mindset. It's not my mindset, it's their mindset. I don't agree with it. I think it's totally false. Is that they think that $600 a week, and who is they? This is Steve Mnuchin and Mitch, think that $600 a week is too much money and is overcompensating people. And they are based it upon a report a week ago. That report said, and of course this is one report, it has been nowhere else cited, that said 2/3 of people on FPUC are getting more money than they got when they were employed. Okay, that's what the report says. Let's take Steve Mnuchin's remark. He says, well, I don't want people to be compensated by FPUC at 100% of their income. I only want them to be compensated 75% or 70% of their income. Well, wait a second. You just said they're overcompensated. Now you say they're compensated exactly at 100%. Now you say we're under 70%. They literally can't get their stories right. And they also can't get what they want, what their position is consistent as well. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are absolutely irate. They have said minutes ago in news statements that they were hoping to negotiate with the Republicans this weekend and get an agreement on FPUC on the books right away and get it passed so that it doesn't lapse as it is lapsing. But they don't have it. They don't have the Republicans' extension of unemployment benefits under second stimulus package. Now, the Democrats, on the other hand, are doing a crazy thing. They have said that they want this all part of a second stimulus package. It's a big box. And the box has everything in it, from brand new buildings for the FBI to bailouts for, Broadway and technology companies that have nothing to do with unemployment. And they said, the Democrats have said, we're not going to pass the second stimulus package unless you put everything together, and we're not going to piecemeal it. The Republicans, on the other hand, said, no, unemployment's expiring this week, Democrats. We need to take care of unemployment this week, and we'll do it as a separate bill, and we'll do it on an emergency basis. Democrats said no. So, wow, it's just, one side messes up something that doesn't make any sense, and the other side does the same thing 10 seconds later. So first Mitch doesn't want to give you any FPUC, then he wants to give you $100, but then he says, I'll rush it through and you'll get it right away. And the Democrats are like, no, we're going to hold it up until August. All a hot mess. So where are we at and what is likely to happen? Well, the Democrats are proposing $600. They're not moving on that. There's been no indication for the Democrats that are going to move on the $600. We don't know if that's a firm and hard, fast rule. We don't know if there's any negotiation on the number. And there really is no indication of why we have to move on the $600 number. What am I talking about? You're like, LA, what is he talking about? Economists are slamming both sides and saying, listen, the numbers indicate that you have to extend it at $600 through the pandemic, or you will have a financial cliff that you have never saw in the American economy, in which everything will just absolutely implode. That even overcompensating, if that is the worst case scenario, that we are overcompensating people who are unemployed, is not a bad thing, because ultimately the flip side is catastrophic. Undercompensating unemployed people in the middle of a pandemic because you thought you were giving them too much money could absolutely cause financial ruin to the American economy. And so whereas Republicans don't want to give money because a lot of money because they say it's going to, make people rich, it's going to, I'm using their own expressions, make people rich off of FPUC, create a welfare state off of FPUC. People want to stay at home and never go back to work. Well, if you really do believe that, the flip side is it actually helps the economy, and it actually ensures that we don't go off a financial cliff. So if you're debating over $600 versus $300, $300 could send us over the cliff, where $600 would not. And it seems as though that some of those economists are clearly getting to the White House, because now the White House is really not happy with what's going on. If you don't recall, there was that one guy that no one likes. You know who I'm talking about. Larry Kudlow. Larry Kudlow, who has nothing to do with this, is not drafting the second stimulus package, but is part of the White House economic team, said FPUC should absolutely be done with. It should be thrown away. We should be compensating people to get back to work, and we should be rewarding people getting back to work. Larry, that doesn't work. You know why it doesn't work, that mindset? Is because there's 64,000 new COVID cases per day. That's 64,000 new people who are unemployed daily. There are people who are losing their jobs because jobs are shutting down because PPP and all those things you thought were so great did not work. There are people who are shutting their doors because new stay-at-home orders are being issued across the state of Texas, California, Arizona, Florida. California has an 80% shutdown currently. So to sit back and say that we don't have an unemployment problem and you're a part of the economic team of the White House is really out of touch. The unemployment numbers are out of control. 1 million or more new jobless unemployment claims per week every week since this pandemic started, 16 plus weeks. I mean, we've never seen this number. We have never seen this number. So if you're sitting back and you're thinking, what's going to happen to my $600 a week? What's going on at LALATE? Well, I've advised you about the following. And I had a really nice chat with someone last night privately that was concerned about their benefits. And what I'm telling you right now is that if you are on PUA or UI or have filed it, I told you to file it right away. I told you if you're watching the video and PUA and UI have not expired in your state yet, get it on file, because you'll get all the benefits of the CARES Act 1, the first stimulus package. What am I talking about? There's a lot of great benefits of the first stimulus package that may not reinvent themselves under a second stimulus package. So I want you to get all those benefits now if you qualify. UI is for people who are unemployed as employees, like a Macy's person. You are a W-2, always a W-2 situation. PUA is for independent contractors, solo practitioners. These are people who have a Schedule C, for example, or have their own company, like your own incorporation or your own LLC. So if you're a PUA, you apply for PUA. If you're UI, you apply for UI. Ultimately, the states require you for PUA to first apply for UI, get a denial because you're not an employee, and then you go over to PUA. Once you're approved, you get FPUC, that's $600 from the federal government, on top of UI and PUA. FPUC is the $600, not PUA. Viewers have asked, can I just go apply for FPUC? No. You have to be on UI or PUA. Someone asked me yesterday, I've never worked. Can I go get unemployment benefits? Can I go apply for that FPUC? No. You have to have been an employee who was laid off, and then you go through the UI process and get unemployment benefits. You have to go through the PUA process and get PUA benefits. There's a lot of benefits to being, and that's great news, there's a lot of benefits to being on the benefits now if you're eligible rather than later. First, the number of weeks of benefits have been extended currently under the first stimulus package. So UI have your state number of weeks. Then you have your state extended number of weeks, because a lot of states have issued extended UI benefits rules because of COVID-19. Then you have FPEUC, another name. He's like, what the hell's all these names? That was a federal law passed part of the CARES Act, the first stimulus package, which extended the number of weeks of UI benefits further than they would have ever have been. So you got a lot of weeks of UI if you're just going on them in the last couple of weeks. You're not going to expire. That's the great news. PUA, the same thing. If you're just starting on PUA now, or you started PUA a few weeks ago, don't worry, you're getting 30-something plus weeks under the first stimulus package. Now, if you don't apply for it and you wait for it to lapse, good luck. Good luck. What are you waiting around for? Apply and get it on file. Ultimately, the thing you need to understand is that you have to be impacted by COVID-19, and there's certain requirements and certain questions and certain things that you have to answer a certain way. If you're FPUC, what you have to understand is that FPUC, I just messed up the acronyms myself. If you're PUA and you're an independent contractor, what you have to understand is that one of the eligibilities for PUA is that your number of hours was reduced because of COVID-19 or completely eliminated. So, for example, if you're an electrician and you only got 4 hours of work during the pandemic instead of your 40 because it's impacted your work, you qualify. So what you have to understand for PUA is that one of the grounds for eligibility is a reduction of the number of hours you have. Great news. When you go through the process, and I had this question with someone last night, and she was so nice. She got very confused, and so I want to explain this to you as well. She had been approved for benefits. Actually, I have two viewers, and they're both the same situation, so I want to go over it with you. They had applied for benefits. One of them understood what I've said on this channel since April when we first debuted. I mean, we're passing 100,000 subscribers today in 100 days. So that's incredible. If you haven't, always subscribe to this channel. The viewer said that she had watched the videos and she understood that her date of impact was March. Please remember that. If your date of impact is March, you do not list your date of impact as today. So she applied for March. Then she certified. Once you're eligible and you're approved, it will say your eligibility period is March to March of next year, or March to December. The other viewer messed it up. The other viewer was not an old viewer. It was a new viewer and hadn't watched my videos and said, my eligibility window says July to July of next year. I'm like, you messed it up. It's supposed, and she said it was her day of impact was March. I'm like, you messed it up. It was supposed to be from March going forward. Ultimately, that mess up costs you a fortune because you're not getting those weeks of benefits back from March forward. The amount of benefits, as you know, starts with your base level benefits to your state, which is about 130, 140, 167 California. And you add that $600 on top of it for the federal government from any day from March to late July. It's a lot of money. If you qualify for escalated benefits based upon 2019 earnings that were over $30,000, get that escalated benefits claim on file. And then that raises you to about $300, $400 a week with $600 on top of that from the federal government. Wow. I mean, that's about $900 a week, March to July. Really, really good numbers. Good numbers. And that could tide you away. It has really saved a lot of viewers of this channel who have been with me from the very beginning. They said, thank you, LALATE. You explained how to do this, and I finally got the money. Whether it was Eileen, who I remembered, who was an OG out of Florida, and she held on, she waited, and she waited. She's certified for benefits on a weekly basis, which you have to do. Every week you have to certify and go back and say, this is what happened this week, this is what happened that week. And she waited, and Florida was backlogged, and Florida was still backlogged. Ultimately, one day she woke up, $8,000 in her account. Aaron, who is a truck driver, who I got emotional on camera one day, he also got nothing and just waited and waited and waited. Finally, he woke up $9,000 in his account. So FPUC, PUA, UI, it does come through. It does work. If you are eligible, get it on file. As soon as you finish watching this video, get it on file if your state is still accepting it. And come next week, we're going to find out the future of where FPUC is going to land. 600, 300, 200, or Mitch with his, who knows? Maybe Mitch next week will say 900. I mean, he literally cannot keep a straight face. He can't keep his act together. If you have questions in today's video, drop them in the comments below. I may answer them in tomorrow's recording. As always, stay motivated, stay focused, stay positive, stay smiling, and stay LA for more.